Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Someone's Got to Do It. Today's episode is sponsored by Two Puts. Two Puts is a local golf leisure brand that sell a range of hats, t-shirts and hoodies like this one I have here. This is a shamrock hat in white with the Two Puts logo and the shamrock on the side. There is currently a Father's Day sale running, so it's a good time to purchase some of these products should you be interested. You can find them on TikTok at Two Puts, and you can find them on the website at two-puts.co.uk. In today's episode, I sit down with Fiona Dunn. Fiona is someone who's worked for the NHS for 40 years. She's worked as a nurse and has worked as a midwife for the past 17 years. She's got a really cool story and a lot to say about being a midwife in this day and age and the pressures that come with it. I really enjoyed the episode and I hope you did too. Hello and welcome to Someone's Got to Do It with me, Callum. And today my guest is Fiona Dunn.
Hi.
You all right? We're going to start off straight away with a question. If somebody you know really well was going to explain and describe you to a complete stranger, someone you've never met, what do you think they'd say?
Oh, that's really hard, isn't it? I'd like to think they'd say I was very friendly, I was very approachable, maybe a little bit on the crazier side. Just a little teeny tiny touch, maybe some slightly obsessive, issues going on, but an all-round good person.
So what do you think has happened in your life, like your childhood and everything now, leading up to now, for people to describe you and explain you in that way? Like, what was your childhood like? What was your schooling like? Do you think that had any impact on who you are today?
Probably, yeah. Probably. My parents split up when I was little. I think I was about 5. I have a brother who is like 11 years older than me. So if you will, he went with my dad. I stayed with my mum. And then she remarried. And I spent a lot of time with my cousins. So I was brought up as an only child, really. I've always had lots of friends and stuff like that. But I suppose you just sort of like make your way, don't you? My mum always taught me to be quite independent, really. But then I left home when I was I think I was just short of 18. I went off to do nursing down in London.
So what was your school like? Yeah, like what was primary school like? What was high school like?
Primary school was okay. I went to a few because we moved. Went to one in Bamber Bridge, but I don't really remember that. It was very early. And then I went to Queen's Drive, and that's like when I met most of my friends. And then I went to Ford High.
Leaving high school, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a nurse.
You always wanted to be a nurse?
Your parents must say it.
Why? Where did that drive for nursing come from?
So then my mum was a medical secretary. So I just wanted to be a nurse. So I went to Houston College, as it was at the time. It's like a full college, Preston College now. I went there and I did a pre-nursing course.
And what did that entail? It's
a bit like what would be health and social now, if you will. Because you've got to remember it's a few years ago, this now. We had very bright pink uniforms. And went to college, and you did sort of like your sciences and things like that. And it was very much like a health and social sort of like class, really. And then you went out on placement to different areas and like for experience. So I did, where did I go? I did an elderly ward at the old Sherwood Green, I think. But I don't know if it's like the elderly day unit or something, but the cleaner thought I was there just to really help her and make cups of tea. So, but it was easy, wasn't it? And it passed the day and it was okay. I did a placement actually when I was there, and that was at the old infirmary, and it was in theatre, in the eye ward for my theatre, and they were so lovely. They really, really welcomed you and made it. Do you know what I mean? Like you were part of the team, and you were a college student. Do you know what I mean? You were part of anything really, but they were really good. And then when I finished there, I went off stream of nursing.
So what did he have you doing in the placement?
We couldn't do anything. Do you know what I mean? You had no, you were just like an observer. Do you know what I mean? You had no, there was no sort of like, insurance or anything, you know, to cover anything you did, because we were under 18, we were at college. Whereas now we're not allowed these people in to work with us.
Oh, right, okay. So when did that change? Why did they stop that?
I have no idea, because I left college and never bothered. And it's only been like in recent years that people have said, you know, like, I've got someone that's, you know, they're on this course and they'd like to come and spend some time with you, and we're not allowed.
So what kind of nursing was that at the time?
I did general nursing.
Oh, right, okay. And what does that mean?
So adult nursing. So I just looked after, although we did rotate, we did do a bit of time in your training. You did go and do some time with the children's ward and different things.
And that was part of your placement from college?
No. I went and did that after.
Right, I'm with you.
Yeah. So at college, I was just a college student doing like, it's like the equivalent of doing your A-levels, isn't it?
Right, okay. So you left college?
And I applied to stream nursing I applied to Birmingham. I had an interview at Birmingham, and then I had an interview in London. And I can't remember whether I got the one in Birmingham or not, if I'm honestly truthful with you, but I did get the one in London, and that's where I chose to go.
And that was nursing? So at London Hospital?
It was called the Wolfson School of Nursing, Westminster.
So how long did you do that for?
I did my enrolled nurse training first, so that was a 2-year course. So I went down to London and had the best.
Really? Why?
Because I was like just turned 18. I was living in London. I was living my best life in the nurse's home. It was all great, wasn't it?
So you were living in a home there as well?
We lived in a nurse's home that was like attached to the hospital.
And you did that for 2 years?
2 years, just over 2 years.
So if that was, you love that so much, leaving at say 20, why did you want to leave?
Because you qualify, don't you? Your nursing qualification, so your course ends. So then I came back to Preston because it's the cost, isn't it, of living in London. When you're there as a student nurse, it's all very cheap, very lovely.
Yeah, and then coming out your time,
and then you're going to get a job, and you suddenly got to find accommodation and things like that. You know, it's a lot harder, isn't it? So it was easy to come home.
What qualifications did you leave with?
I was an enrolled nurse, and in the past, you have like state enrolled nurses and state registered nurses. So I did my state enrolled one because I hadn't got all my GCSEs, I don't think, when I left college. I left a bit earlier or summer. And then I came back to Preston, and then a few years later, I did my conversion course. So that gave me, so because I'm like a state registered nurse or a registered general nurse, as it had changed to at that point.
So coming back to Preston, what was the first step back into nursing that you did?
When I came to Preston, I went to theatre, and I worked in main theatres at Royal.
Doing what?
I was a scrub nurse, you know, when you pass the instrument.
Oh, yeah. Do you know that's what you wanted to do at the time?
I liked theatre. Do you know what I mean? I think I applied for a job. Where did I actually apply for the job, actually? I'm thinking now. I think it was on Ward 15, which was like urology. And that was the job I'd applied for, and I got an interview. And the sister was up there. She said that she felt that I would have preferred a theatre job. So she referred me off to theatre. She
made that decision?
Yeah, she said, I think, you know, this is where you'd be happier. And I was. She did a few years later offer me a job back on.
Oh, did she?
When she thought I'd gotten over it. I hadn't, obviously, at that point.
So how long did you do that for?
I was there, then let me think on. So I started there in 86, July 86. It's 40 years on the 21st of July. I get my 40-year award at Preston. So I started there July 86. weeks. And then I think I stayed there for about 18 months. And at the time, the done thing was to have some ward experience. You know, things have changed in like sort of like nursing and medicine and everything. But at the time, they like you to have some ward experience. You used to do a couple of wards and then go somewhere more specialist. So I applied for a job and I got a job on Ward 4, which at the time was plastics and burns.
Right. Completely different to neurology, though.
Urology, yeah.
Urology, sorry.
I know, I never actually got up there, did I? Who knows, I might have liked it.
What kind of theatre, what kind of operations did you see in there?
There was lots of different things. So there was eyes, there was plastics, there was general surgery, there was orthopaedics, there was neurosurgery, dental, all sorts of stuff. And you rotated round.
So you're in theatre every day at that point?
When I was working there, yeah.
Wow. How was that?
Yeah, it was nice. It was a good team. It was a very friendly team. Do you know what I mean? It was nice.
So moving on to the burns.
Oh, yeah, Ward 4, 6 months, 2 weeks off.
2 weeks?
6 months.
Oh, 6 months and 2 weeks.
To go for 6 months. I stayed 2 weeks longer.
Wow.
It wasn't for me.
Why?
I don't know. It just wasn't for me. You know when you know you're happy in a place, and it just wasn't for me. And from there, I went to intensive care at Preston.
Right. And what was that switch like?
Definitely.
Was
It
it?
was good. Another really good team. At the time, it was a very small unit compared to what it is now. It's massive now.
Mm.
There's loads and loads of beds there now. But at the time, we just had 8 beds.
Are there still adults there?
We did used to take children. But things like in paediatric medicine have changed a lot now because we were, at Preston, it was always like a sub-regional centre for neurosurgery and stuff, so children with head injuries and things would come to Preston. Whereas now, they all go to like Manchester. But at the time, I mean, we're talking a lot of years ago, aren't we?
Why is Manchester like the hub for children now? Where did that change come in? Because like I've only ever known everybody goes to Manchester with, you know, and everyone's got, you know, God forbid, issues.
It's a specialist children's hospital, there is.
And was it built for that?
Should be. Because they've got a lot of hospitals, haven't they, in Manchester? I think they all do something slightly different. But obviously they've got a big centre for children.
So how long was you in intensive care for? Not you in intensive care, but on that unit for...
Probably work things out. I think I went in about 88 and then I left in... When did I have Beth? I left me in 95. So I think I left in about 96.
I see you there for a bit.
Yeah. I did my conversion course while I was there, and that was like the change from enrolled nurse to registered nurse, and that's you just do a year. That was so good.
Was it? Why?
Because you still got paid, and you were a student, so you had no responsibility.
You're not still working at that time as well?
Well, yeah, but you're working on the course, aren't you? So you will do your hours, but on placement.
So where did they put you then?
Well, I went to A&E. I'm not very good at A&E. And I went to Ward 18, which was like cardiology. We did surgical wards. He just went wherever. He just went as a student nurse. It was good.
Still in the Preston area though?
In Preston, yeah.
Just not in the hospital?
In hospital at Preston.
Oh, right, okay.
As a student nurse. So you go back to being a student nurse for a year.
So why did you want to do that?
Because I wanted to be a staff nurse as opposed to an enrolled nurse.
What's the difference?
One's 2 years to start with and one's 3 years to start with. It was they're bringing it back a little bit now, I think. And there was like 2 levels, if you will. I suppose it's maybe for the ones that weren't as bright, didn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, we all get there in the end, Colin. We all get there in the end, just takes some of us a little bit longer.
But what was the difference in the qualification? Like, what could you do with your new qualification that you couldn't do on your old one?
I think it's the chance of like further promotion and like that, you know, that you could go further in it. But lots of people did it, and lots of people went on that had been enrolled nurses and went on to be sisters and whatever.
Right. So leaving intensive care.
I left there because I went back to theatre from there because I'd had Bethany, and it was just better hours in theatre. It was more sort of like 8 to 5.
Right, okay.
You know, which was better for child.
Right. So back into theatre in the same place?
I went back as a scrub nurse, which is like handling the instruments and everything else. And then I did my theatre course, and that allowed me to do anaesthetic. So I used to be an anaesthetic assistant after that, because you had to have the qualification to work with the anaesthetist. And I was an anaesthetic assistant, so helping the anaesthetist. So that was good.
What does underneath? Right, okay. So how do you help them?
Passing the drugs, get the equipment, make sure everything's there.
Right. So that's all you did when you went back to to theatre.
It's actually saving people's lives, you know, when all you do.
Yeah. no, but you know.
Just saying.
So how long was you back in theatre for before leaving?
Oh,
there
hang
again?
on now. What was I right? So when did I go back there? So I went back there after, so it's about 96. And when did I do my midwifery? 2003 to 2002. So I probably stayed there till about 2002.
Oh, wow. Another long stint then.
No, maybe 2002.
So you spent a lot of time in theatre over the course of your career. You must have done to spend that long in it. Why midwifery?
Well,
Oh, you don't even know.
I shouldn't really say this. I never had a desire. A lot of people say they've got a desire to be a midwife, really want to be a midwife, really want to be, I don't know, a nurse. I really want to be a jockey. I never had these feelings towards a midwifery. But I've been out for tea one night at the Italian Orchard, and I bumped into this girl that I'd worked with in 30 years before, who'd gone off to be, I think she off to be a school nurse anyway. And, you know, when you sort of say, well, what are you up to? And she said she was finishing her midwifery training. And I said, oh, I've always fancied that. Which was a complete lie. It was just something that you say, isn't it? Like, you know, I really like shoes and it's a great bag. I'm not going to buy it myself, but, you know. And she said, oh, you should apply. And she wanted that seat, didn't she?
So you applied based off a lie?
Off a lie, yeah. Yeah, essentially.
So what did you have to do to apply?
So I rang up and I got the application form. I filled in my application form and I spent about an hour having an interview, and it all went very nicely, and they offered me a place. And I said, I'm not coming. I thought about it and declined my place. It must have been 2002, because I thought, I used to have to pay this. So I rang them. I said, I'm really sorry, because I didn't want to waste time. The places, they were quite sought after at the time. And especially on the short course, which is the one that I was going to do, because I think there was 4 of us in our group, or 4 from Preston. So I gracefully gave that word, but it was still there. So I applied again the year after, and I thought, if I get on this time, I'll have to go, because it's rude, isn't it? And I'm a lot of things, but I'm not rude. And so another about hour interview, got on again, and here I am.
So you applied for a job that you didn't really want based off a lie, and then you got offered the job and turned it down because you didn't want it. And then you applied again. Why did you apply the second time?
Because it was still there, wasn't it? Because she planted that seed, and people do that. They plant seeds and it's there, isn't it?
Well, do you think you was unsettled in the job you were doing at the time or not? So what, if you were happy, why apply for something you don't want to do?
Because it's there, isn't it? And it's something different. And I probably didn't think I was going to get on, did I really?
And you got on twice?
Yeah, twice. Yeah.
So the second time?
I went.
You went, and is that still in Preston, or did you have to move
Was at
anywhere for that?
Preston, yeah. So, well, before I left theatres at Preston, at Royal Preston, I went down to Sherwood Green and I spent like 6 months in gynae theatre there, because it was all separate on different sites. Still doing anaesthetics, but just so I was a bit more in the maternity environment. And I started doing midwifery.
So starting midwifery, what was the first, because you're a community midwife now,
I'm a community midwife now, yeah.
but you wasn't a community midwife initially.
You go in and you do, again, it's placements, isn't it? You go in as a student, so you spend time in uni and time in the clinical environment.
So you still go to uni even at, you're nearly, how many years are you in there? 15 years in? So you're nearly 20 years in?
Well, maybe a little bit longer, but we don't need to dwell on that.
But you were going to university even that far in? Wow. So why did you never want to go back to theatre? Because you went back to theatre once already.
Because I was doing midwifery then, wasn't I? I still used to do a bit of bank when during my training and after I qualified as a midwife, I still did a bit of bank.
What's bank?
You know, like
Oh, right, okay.
in anaesthetics at like in gynae.
So what was that first stint of midwifery like? What were you doing there? I know it's midwifery, but I don't know anything about midwifery.
It's completely different, isn't it? It was like a completely different world for me because I come from nursing and people are poorly out there, you make them better. Yeah. And suddenly you go to midwifery and they're not ill. They're pregnant.
There's nothing wrong with you.
There's nothing wrong with them. And I mean, some people have problems and there's different things go on, but the majority, and it was very strange changing your mindset to caring for like healthy people as opposed to sick people. Because it's more about health promotion, isn't it? Making sure they're eating well, living well, you know, doing the right things to grow the baby well within their limits, isn't it?
How often did you see it where people weren't doing that?
It happens, doesn't it? People can't always afford, you know, the really good food. You see some people, don't you? And it's sad really because they're there and they've got all the gear. Do you know what I mean? Everything that any company's brought out, they bought it and they're on the special diets and they go into the classes and it costs a lot of money. And not everybody, well, in fact, probably the majority of people can't afford it, can they? So it's about helping people to just, you know, you can eat healthily and eat well on a budget. You know, anyone can, isn't it? It's just supporting them. And I think social media and things makes people feel bad. And that's...
Especially in this day and age. Yeah, it does in this day and age.
Yeah, and it's all blazoned across and people need to feel that they need to buy everything. And you don't need everything.
So, being in midwifery then, were you delivering babies at this point as well?
Yeah, you in your training, at the time they were the long course, if you will, which were like direct entry. They were 4 years, but that's been cut down to 3 years now. Because they don't get the long holidays, you know, like they used to get the, you know, the proper student holidays, whereas now they don't, and they do the course over 3 years. But ours was 18 months, and you basically miss the first year of your training, like your sort of like your nursing qualification, giving you like the UCAS points, you know, to say that you've done the first year. So you did all your assignments, different assignments on different modules. You had to do 100 antenatal checks, 100 postnatal checks, examine 100 babies, and you had to facilitate the birth of 40 babies to qualify.
And that's all in your training?
Yeah. In your 18.
Wow. So what?
Yeah. Uni work as well.
The heck? So what's the antenatal checks?
Antenatal checks is when the ladies come and they're either seen in antenatal clinic, they can be seen like on the antenatal ward or in the community clinics, which is where I am now. And it's when you sort of like just check the general well-being, make sure everything's fine with the baby, measure the baby, Whatever.
What about the postnatal checks?
Well, they've got a baby then, yeah.
So how does that differ to what you're checking? Obviously, you're not measuring the baby as such whilst it's... You know,
Because you can see it.
because you see
Then you just check the well-being of the mum, make sure how she's feeling, like emotionally and physically, postnatally. And you weigh the baby, check the baby over.
And then being involved with the delivery of the baby. The birth, obviously. What's that like as a student nurse?
It's scary.
Is it?
It's crazy.
What your first one? What was the first one like?
The first one, it was born in a pool, and it was born in its membranes. She was really good.
Wow.
And because you watch some, you don't go straight in and start catching babies. We had to observe 5, and then you move on to be seen as proficient. But yeah, it was born in its membranes.
Wow. How do you get it out of the membrane? Oh, really? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. They say that they're very lucky if they're born in the membranes. They call it an on-call. And they say that they'll never drown.
Really?
If they're born in the membranes.
So why do you have to watch 5? I mean, surely watching 5 passes pretty fast.
It does. Well, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But it's good just to like see what goes on. And then the first few that you technically facilitate them, you're always with a trained midwife in an on your own. And I was really lucky because it sounds crazy, but I'm left-handed. And the majority of them are right-handed, so we were all in our right place. So I always felt that bit safer because I knew that they weren't like behind me. Or
Yeah, they were on that side.
They were in their good place and I was in my good place. So it always worked for me that. And at first, I don't think you really know what's going on. It's like as you're longer into it and you sort of spend time for caring for the ladies, like during labour, then you feel like I actually did that.
So the first few, do they just fly by?
Yeah, it's like a bit of a blur because it's like...
How many do you remember from that 40 that you had to do as part of your training? How many would you say you could visually remember if you put your mind to it?
Well, probably quite a few.
Oh, really?
Probably could pick out quite a few. I always remember baby 39. This was an embarrassing.
Baby 39.
Yeah, baby 39. Because you get into that point where you need your 40. You need that 40 because you can't qualify without that 40. And everyone's sort of like on the 40 wagon at that point. And I was remember this lady, she'd come up from the ward and everything, I think they thought she was about to birth the baby on the ward and it all just stopped. And then she was like laid on the bed and like waiting. Do you know what I mean? Waiting like that. And then someone said, come on, get off that bed. And she stood up and basically contractions came back and she had a baby. It was absolutely beautiful. But the midwife that I was with must have said about this being, I was so perilously close at this point. This was baby number 39. And then about a week or so later, I was back out with the community midwife and we actually visited this lady at home. And she said, do you remember this baby? Because there was a lot going on in time. And she went, it's baby number 39. And I felt awful because I thought that child's going through life being baby number 39. That's awful, that, isn't it?
That's what the child's name is.
Baby number 39, yeah.
So how did you count them? Obviously, you've got to count 40.
You have like a little chart and you have to get them signed off.
Right.
Everything has to be signed off.
So, and you label them as baby 1, baby 2, baby 3.
I think it's not that remember that how we did it.
Right.
But you had to have so many red books, competency books unfolding. And that obviously went back to the uni to prove that we...
And they sign it off. So they sign you off as a midwife, and then what?
And then they set you free.
And you go doing midwifery, but this time you're not with someone, you're on your own.
Yeah.
You're not on your own, are you? But
You're not in row. You get well supported.
Right.
Well supported and well looked after. Oh, I did.
So, how many babies would you say you've delivered? Lots.
Yeah. There's been a lot over the years. When I first qualified, I got one of these nice books from the Royal College of Midwives. And, you put in each birth. And it all started off very nicely. And then you have like a busy shift, don't you? And then it's a busy week. And then you've forgotten to fill it in and you just don't go back to your...
Oh, really? So how many had you counted before you got too busy to fill it?
I don't know, not that many really. I didn't go far with that.
How many, so you say busy shift. How many, so in one shift, is it 12-hour shift, I assume, or not?
They're sort of like, they used to be like 12 to 14 hours.
Right. So how many babies?
The most I've had in one shift, I was with one of my friends that was a student at the time, we had 3.
Or 3? Wow. Wow. Flippin' heck.
I don't know how many the most is that been born in Preston on the day. I suppose if you cut out the sections, or like the elective ones, I don't know. I remember someone a few years ago saying one of the busiest days we'd have like 22 births.
Wow.
Which is quite a few, isn't it?
That's a lot, yeah. What's the average amount of births in Preston?
I think we sit around 4,500.
Wow. That's a lot.
Quite a lot, isn't it?
It's a hell of a lot. So, doing midwifery, and I mean, what a rewarding job. You know, delivering a bit, obviously, it's going to have its downsides, isn't it? But why did you want to, or why did you leave there and go community midwife? Was that the next change, or was there something in between?
Why are you picking these questions? Anyway, I've never applied for community midwifery. I'm on loan.
What does that mean?
I'm on loan. So years and years ago, and it's probably coming up 17 years now, they'd wanted, we used to be like in teams at Preston, yeah, and they wanted someone to go over and help out at Chorley. And it was purely for 6 months. But it was quite nice because I thought, I volunteered for it and I went off to Chorley for 6 months and I did the Leyland area, a bit of a disaster because I got lost in Leyland. But he basically did a bit of community and they had the standalone birth centre over at Chorley at the time. So I could work on the birth centre at Chorley, which is somewhere I'd never worked because I'd only known Preston, yeah. So I went over there for 6 months, and when I came back, away my gallbladder out when I came back. I got gallstones, very painful, let me tell you. So you need we did that restfully, that rubbish, yeah. It was nasty. So I'd had these gallstones, so I had my gallbladder removed. So I'd gone back to work, and one of the matrons said, would you mind giving him a hand on the community at Preston? And I said, well, I can. It's not really ideal, you know, because I didn't have any interest in it. There's like my career go pathways now. I've not really got any plans for that. So I was on loan and she used to like meet up with me every 3 months, see if I was still okay. And then she's just obviously left it longer than that. She's retired since and just like left me on community.
And you've been there ever since?
Been there ever since, yeah.
For anybody listening, what's the difference between being a midwife and being a community midwife?
I don't think there shouldn't be a lot of difference because as a midwife, you're a midwife, aren't you? And you should be able to practice your trade wherever you are. We do have people that, you know, we've got midwives that work on the delivery suite all the time, and they're just better at things.
Yeah.
You know, at some things than I am. And likewise, there's ones that work in clinic, ones that work like on the antenatal ward and postnatal ward. We've all got a different skill set, haven't we?
So what's the difference, job-wise?
Well, it's just the area that you work in. Role as a midwife is your role as a midwife, isn't it? And you will do the same thing wherever you are.
So, being a community midwife.
So, as a community midwife, you spend a lot of time. We're not in the GPs anymore. They moved us out of GPs a few years ago. And we're in what they call these family hubs now, which are sort of like the children's centres, if you will. And we run clinics from there, which is quite cool because there's loads of other stuff goes on there. There's lots of like groups and baby massage and play groups and da-di-da-di-da. But in amongst it, the midwives doing that to it.
So what if you're at like a children's centre? Why do you then have to travel to people's houses as well?
Because we do the postnatal visits. They train now to bring the service all together, and the ladies can come to the hubs for postnatal appointments as well. And they do try to reduce the travel, but some people don't drive, some people can't get there. Ideally, antenatally, we would encourage everybody, apart from under exceptional circumstances, to come to us, because you go and see your doctor, aren't you? You know, so, you know, that would be the ideal. But postnatally, we would encourage them to come to us, because a lot of people are out and about. You know, they're not staying in the beds like they used to do, you know, like in years gone by.
Why do you not get people? Do you get many people going there? Or do you, because you still visit a lot of places, don't you?
Yes, I think.
So why do they not? Why is it not compulsory that you have to go there?
Because you can't make anything compulsory, you can't make anyone do anything, can you?
True, yeah.
Ideally, like when you first had a baby, do you know what I mean? Well, you never had a baby, so you don't know what it's like. Smart's a little kind. A little bit tiring, might not be wanting to go to a children's centre. And so in the first few days afterwards, normally, sort of like, we normally see them at home. We see them at home the day after they leave the hospital. And then we normally see them at home on day 5, unless they're busy and they want to be out and about. And then we do like a discharging appointment where they can normally come see us.
Obviously, we've talked about the difference between antenatal and postnatal. What's the difference between the two as a community midwife? I know that like the checks are obviously a lot different, and we've talked about that already. But what's the difference in the women, other than the fact they've just had a child?
Hopefully there'll be no difference. I'm really lucky, and I have really, really, really good continuity, but I work very hard at it. And when I see people antenatally, I book all their appointments when they're 16 weeks, because at 16 weeks they've had the scan. We know exactly how many weeks we are. We know what we need, and we just book it all in. So then I get to see them regularly, sort of like throughout the pregnancy, because we have like set times when we like to see people. It's not cast in stone, and if people need more, they can have more. If they need a little bit less, you know, we can negotiate a bit, really. But as long as we're sort of like doing all the visits we need to do. So it's quite sad, because now I'm part-time, because I did the semi-retired thing. I only do 3 days. Well, 2 of them are spent in the clinic, so I don't do as many postnatal appointments. So for me, that's a little bit sad, because I don't get to see them as much, you know, afterwards. And we spent a lot of time together. I want to meet these babies. So hopefully a lot of them will come back to see me at the clinic. If I am doing visits and I see sort of their names appearing, I'll be like, oh no, I'll go there. I've got that, I'll steal them.
How many women have you stayed in touch with throughout being a midwife?
Quite a few, really, but they come back. They're like bad pennies. They keep rolling back up.
So you still have a lot of contact with a lot of women?
Lots of people. I mean, my girls don't have, like, if we go shopping, they hate going to the supermarkets and stuff with me, because I see loads of people in the supermarket.
And the children. And
the children, yeah, and the babies. But it's nice, you know, when they come back with like another pregnancy. So it's nice to see the other babies growing up.
So what does a typical day look like at work for you? Let's talk about a typical day as a midwife in the hospital and a typical day as a community midwife now.
So in the hospital, it depends where you're working, doesn't it? If you're on delivery suite, if you're on the birth centre, the antenatal ward, the postnatal ward, you'd be carrying out those sort of like shifts, wouldn't you? You'd be doing those duties, like looking after the babies before, during, or after they've had the babies. As a community midwife, you can do a bit of all sorts, sort of like in the whole day. You can go and do like antenatals in the morning, postnatals in the afternoon. You know, if you get called to support somewhere, we have an on-call service. It doesn't get used as much now as it used to, because we've got the home birth team, so they like take the lead on all the home births. But you go, if you're on call, you go as like second, to support the home birth team. You might get called over to Chorley to support them, or even like the birth centre at Preston. They're really needed.
What's a birth centre?
Oh, that's what it says in the tin. It's a centre where you can birth baby.
Right.
So we've got the birth centre at Preston, which is like, it's classed as a low risk model. So that's like midwife led. So it's just by midwives. Obviously at Preston, all the services are within the building. At Chorley, we've got the standalone birth centre, and that's completely midwife led. There's no
Right.
medical staff there at all. So if they had any problems, any concerns, they will come to Preston.
Oh, really? How long does it take to get somebody who's having a problem from Chorley to Preston?
Probably about 15, 20 minutes, maybe.
Oh, that's not too long.
They fetch them in an ambulance, and it goes very quick if they needed to. But then the guidelines are sort of like, we follow very strict guidelines, and you sort of like preempt things a little bit more. You know, like if things weren't progressing as we would expect, then an intervention would be taken before, hopefully before it gets too late.
Are you likely to make an intervention quicker if they're at Chorley than at Preston, or not?
In all honesty, probably. And like you would at home, wouldn't you? Because the doctor's not just there.
So, would you ever go back to working in the hospital as a midwife?
If I'm honest with you, I mean, I'm contracted to work in the hospital. They can put me wherever they want.
Right.
Me do. I'm only on loan, did I mention that? But they can put you, my contract's to work as a midwife for Lancashire Teaching Hospital. So they put me where they want.
But would you want to go back?
Probably not now, because I just have such a good work-life balance, because I know all my ladies, or the majority of them, and we've spent a lot of time together over the years, and they do come back, and then I'm making new friends all the time, and I enjoy my life. I feel I provide a good service.
You must have if you've been in for 40 years in July.
So you're a bit dodgy, really. It's nice. Do you know what I mean? I do enjoy it.
What do you think the biggest misconception is about being a midwife?
Everyone thinks you just cuddle babies on.
And you don't?
We don't, no. There's not that much of it.
Is there not? What about being a community midwife?
There's still not that much cuddling babies. But there's a lot, you have to be a lot of things to a lot of people, don't you? You're sort of like a support, an advisor, an advocate at times. And there's lots of women go through lots of different things. You've just to be, it's a very individual thing, and you've just to treat them all as an individual and meet their needs. And it's not always easy, to go from like one thing to the next thing. You sort of like out of one door into another, and you put your smile back on your face and off you go.
Have you had times where you've had to leave, say, a job that was difficult and then go to a job that's really nice, or the other way around? How do you change you're seeing so many different people in one day?
You have to, though, don't you?
Yeah, but how do you do that is what I mean.
You just do it, don't you? And you sort of like, I would like to think that you do your best and sort of like, finish your appointment with the lady, and hopefully she's going off, to feel better, to, with a plan of where we're going. And then you just have to like, the next person, they're an individual and they've got their needs, haven't they? And you can always go back, like at the end of the day, if people tell you sad things, and people do tell you sad things, and it upsets you, and it does upset you, things that some people are going through, not necessarily to do with the pregnancy. They might have a family member with an illness, there could be a lot of things, and you really feel for them. And then you sort of get on with your day, and then you just like think about them later and think, well, I'll see them again in a couple of weeks and we'll see how they're doing then. You know, you almost become like part of the family because you spend so much time with them throughout the pregnancy.
How do you find, because you speak to so many different people, so many different women in one day, can you remember everything? Do you know what I mean? Like, if people are going through having the problems and everyone's got problems,
A
haven't
lot of things you remember. You do remember. And then some people you think, I'm gonna minute. Do you know what I mean? And some people stick with you more than others. But you just get used to it. You just get used to remembering everyone and what's been going on. And the details might not be so good. The main body of the picture. And I just say, remind me. Remind me what I said.
Because you said so many different people.
And but I say to like, I'm quite honest, I said, you have to remind me. You know what I'm like. But they don't mind, do they? They don't mind participating in the care, and they're thinking, right, we need to do this and we need to do this, and that's okay. And if you only need to do this, that's cool, we'll do it. But I've got to remember like a few hundred people you will need to remember.
Yeah, just the one. Yeah. Do you think it's any different now than it was when you started being a community midwife 17 years ago?
Yeah.
In what way?
It's a lot different now. It's a lot I don't know that it's a lot busier. I think we have a lot more to deal with. There's a lot of more people sort of like with like health problems and things that have babies now that maybe in the past, wouldn't have done, and maybe were advised, not to have babies. So we have a lot of people with more problems. And when I first went out in community, they were just community midwives, and that's what they did. Whereas now everyone's like rotating a bit in and out, with our new staff and new starters. So we have a lot more staff. So it is different.
What's the lowest point in your midwifery career?
When we don't get a happy outcome. And sometimes just if you feel like you've done a bad job, if you feel that, that you've let people down, but maybe not intentionally or whatever, but, did I do enough? Did I do the right thing? And who knows?
How often do you think that happens?
I'm very blessed that it has happened. But it only has happened once.
Yeah. It must be.
And if things happen, you get this. It's just human nature, isn't it? That you get this guilt. That everything's your fault. And the chances are it probably wasn't. And if you follow the protocols, follow the guidelines, things happen. Bad things happen.
How difficult was it the first time that happened?
It was horrible. It was horrible, but you're there for that woman. Our role is to the woman, and it's to do basically whatever she wants you to do. And you do what they want. If a baby were to survive and she was to birth a baby, you do the photos, you do whatever she wants you to do, and that's what you have to do, isn't it? Because this is their memories. And it's there. It's forever, isn't it? People they always seem to remember us as midwives because you're like that one person, aren't you, there on that day. And you do what you do.
What's the support like from the NHS for you when that happens?
I personally would say it's quite good. I don't know what other people would say, but it depends how. I'm quite an open person, as you know, and we used to have what we called supervisors and midwives, and you used to have like an annual appointment with your supervisor, and it's part of like the NMC guidelines and things. Now we have these midwifery advocates, but there's always people that you can go and talk to, and you go and you tell them the good stuff, the bad stuff, the confusing stuff. You know, it doesn't have to, it's not all bad. And sometimes just say, check this out, what I've done today. But there's always people that you can go and speak to. And I really feel that you have to take, all of us do, not just midwives, not just anybody. I mean, the whole world needs to take responsibility for yourself a little bit. And I know that if something's happened and I need to talk to someone, I'll go and find that person to talk to. I'll not sit back and just feel sorry for myself and say no one supported me and nobody did this for me. Because sometimes you need to reach out. People know that that's what you want. And then they're there and they will support you. But sometimes they need telling, which maybe shouldn't be the case, but they're not mind readers, are they?
No. The NHS is big as well, and there's a lot of people.
There's a lot going on, and everybody's an individual and deals with things differently. And you can't force people, to tell you stuff, can you?
No.
You can't say back, come on, Colin, this has happened. How do you feel about it? If you don't want to tell me, you don't want to tell me. It's cool. But you maybe do need to tell someone. But that's your choice, isn't it? And I would hope that everyone would feel that, you don't have to go to like a senior person. You can go to whoever. It doesn't matter, does it? As long as it's the support that you need. There's lots of services with like health and like mental well-being and support like that. It's all there.
These are people that are employed by the NHS as well. And are they in the hospital all the time?
For you, so I've never.
Right.
Well, because I've always had, your people.
Yeah.
And I know who I will go to if I had a problem. And they might not be able to solve it, but they'd listen and they'd make it better, and then we could plan together, actually, do I need to go and speak to somebody else? Do I need to, go and see the mental health team, or, there's a healthy well-being or something. But it's all there.
What's the highest point in your career? What's the point that's made you the most proud of your job and what you've done? I know it's probably a difficult question, that, innit?
I don't know. There's a lot. There's lots of like different.
So when I ask the question, what's the first one that comes to your mind? Straight away, first one that comes in.
That many, aren't there? There's like little highlights. The first time you do a suturing.
What's that?
Oh, you see, you shouldn't have gone here. When the ladies can tear sometimes, birthing babies, and then we suture them all up. And it's when you do that, because we're taught to do it, obviously, with practice on pig's bottoms. But then, yeah, that's good. Cannulating people, taking blood, all lots of little highs.
What's the big highs? What's the day where you've left work, you got home and you thought, that was good. Really made a difference, though.
There's lots. One was obviously the 12th of January, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Day, wasn't it?
That was a very good day.
That was a good day. When you get to do things like that, it was a good day.
For anybody listening, the 12th of January last year was the birth of my second child, healthy child. Fiona, being a community midwife, was in the hospital, and I remember being sat in.
Was it dear?
I remember being sat in the room. We went in, put the bags down and stuff. It was a planned C-section. I remember you coming in and said, "Actually, we're gonna have a baby." It's a moment I'll never forget. So, hey, listen, from my side, you've been nothing short of outstanding to us, and the kids. So, knowing that you probably do that for loads of other families as well, I have a massive amount of respect for you. Really do. Probably similar to the most rewarding part, really. But Sorry, to the highest part. What's the most rewarding part of being a midwife?
It's when people say thank you. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, and it just means a lot, doesn't it? And when they do your card, I love a card. Love it when someone sends me a card because they've taken that minute, haven't they? Just to think about you. And when they remember you.
Oh, I think it's so easy to remember somebody that does such an amazing job for you. Like, you know, we've had 3 kids. I mean, you remember everybody involved with all 3, you know, and like you being such a big part of it. I could never forget you because you're here all the time, but, but, you know, like how could anybody ever forget?
But you do forget people. And like sometimes the only time you get contact with midwife is when they're at the birth of the baby, but people still remember that person. Because it's massive, isn't it?
I mean, of course it's massive. It's a big, big thing. Having a child is a massive thing. But knowing that there's somebody there to help, because we've no idea. We don't know what we're doing. But having that backing and that support, and that's what you do for a living. I think, honestly, it's...
But I was the same when I had my girls. I didn't have a clue. I remember getting home with the first one. You sent me home with this baby. What do I do now? Do you know what I mean? If I was a nurse then, I didn't have a clue.
What was it like doing midwifery after having children?
I don't know. I think it was probably a blessing, really. I maybe wouldn't have had children, maybe, but
Oh, really?
but yeah, it was fine because I had like my experiences, didn't I, to fall back on and to think, you know, how did I feel about this? But again, I'm very much a get on with it.
Do you think that having children impacted your decision to be a midwife or not, subconsciously? No. Why?
It was that Italian options, wasn't it? That silly girl. The girl in question went on to join the police, and she wanted me to go and join the police. But
you're not going to lie twice.
You have to draw the line somewhere, don't you? I was getting a bit older then. And I felt there was more running around involved with that. So
what's next?
for me,
Yeah.
retirement.
So you're going to stay with what you're doing now?
Why would I change now? As you know, my years are advancing slightly. I've got a few left, but I'm happy, am I?
How long?
Well, I get my state pension when I'm 67, so I might have to wait till then because, as you know, I do like spending money. And I don't get me NHS pension alone could support me with that. Unless a nice lottery win, and in which case it's been lovely meeting everybody.
Where would you go?
I don't know, I'd just leave and just go to Marks and Spencer's one.
So, what type of person do you think it takes to be a midwife and do the job that you do?
I think it takes a lot of different people. I think you've got to work hard. I think you've got to want to do the job. I think you've got to be kind and respect people. You have to respect these women and their choices and their families and their choices because it's their business, isn't it? And if we don't, you know, if they're wanting something different than what our trust would recommend, we have to sort of like negotiate and meet in the middle. So, you know, to make things safe and happy for everyone. That's what we want, isn't it? A happy mum, happy babe.
How difficult can it be to meet in the middle sometimes? Because everyone's different.
Very occasionally, there's some people that have like sort of like extreme ideas about what's right. And what do you do? You know, the doctors would speak to them, the senior staff would speak to them and explain the risks, and it's, you know, it's choice, isn't it, really? We don't have many people that want things completely out of the ordinary, and I think as long as they're given all the right information, they're okay.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to be a midwife or wants to get into midwifery of any kind, so community midwife or being a midwife in hospital?
I would say, get a real job. Remember that it's we don't close. It's not Monday to Friday. It's not you working bank holidays. There's a lot to give up, but it's equally very rewarding. You've just got to be kind. Follow your heart.
And that's it.
And that's it. What can you say? Do you know what I mean?
How difficult is it to be a midwife now in comparison to when you did your training? Is there much difference or not?
I think that we seem to take more students. I don't know whether that's due to the fact that they now pay for the courses. So I don't know whether the unis are taking them more. I don't really know that. But obviously it's just a job situation at the end, isn't it? I know that our trust strives to take as many as we can. Do you know what I mean? But they're saying that there's a national shortage, but equally they're saying that there's no jobs.
So which one is it?
I don't know. I don't get involved in that. That's out of my remit, that. I'm just in a little cupboard down the street, seeing antenatal ladies. Giving my best one.
What does a community midwife do outside of the job? What hobbies have you got?
Well, we don't really have a lot of hobbies. Obviously, there's a gymnastics thing. Right.
That you asked me not to mention.
That I should not to mention. Cartwheels are coming on great. Obviously, I like to spend time with my grandchildren. Do you know what I mean? Like to go shopping. Don't do many holidays, and I'm a bit scared now with these wars. If I go abroad, I'll be stuck there soon.
Do you stay local?
I'll stay local. Might go to the lakes.
If the world of midwifery was to stop tomorrow and being a midwife doesn't exist, you were 16-year-old, leaving school, what would you want to do instead? Where do you want to be?
Well, when I was 16, BAE was a place to go. You got a really good pension. So if I think my time again, I'd quite like to work on the Clarins counter. Fancy some red shoes. I don't know. I always wanted to be a hairdresser, but I haven't really got the skills. So who knows?
So BAE or on the Clarins counter?
I did consider joining the army years and years ago, but they wanted me to be a nurse in the army, and I could be a nurse in Preston for one. So I wanted to be a tent commander. Which have been quite good at them. The little flag. You see me? We're coming in. But yeah. So maybe something like that. Something exciting.
That's it. That's it from me, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for doing this. I enjoyed it. I learned loads about your career that I didn't know as well.
I'm surprised because I yapped to you loads, don't I?
Congrats on 40 years for July as well.
Thank you.
When you retire, how many years will it be?
Well, if I wait till I'm to 67, it'll be what? It'll be, I might have to stop a bit longer than that. It'll be 46? 46. I might have to stay another 4 to make it 50. I don't think you get a badge at 50, then. So.
Do you get a badge at 40 though?
Small, you'll see it. It's a very small badge and it says 40 on it.
Right.
It's obviously they put a lot of effort into it. I'm hoping that everyone thinks I'm 40 if I wear it.
You have to get a big one. Yeah. So you're not going to say it's 50?
I don't know. We'll see, yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Thanks for doing this, Fiona. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you got any feedback, again, message or comment on the pages. You can follow us on any social media. Someone's Got to Do It podcast. And you can watch on YouTube at Someone's Got to Do It pod. If you got any suggestions for any guests, please let me know. Send me a message or comment on the post, and I'll do my best to get them on. Thanks for watching, or thanks for listening if you're on the audio, and see you in the next one.